We made it. We are nearing the end of our content for the Newborn Touch Instructor Program. We'll still continue to have lots of opportunities to connect through the comment section, through our Zoom sessions, and then also through the private one-on-one sessions that I've offered that you can certainly take advantage of. So for this last segment, we've talked about holding the baby, helping hold the family, the parents, and now we're going to talk about holding the community and how you can increase your impact in your community as a Newborn Touch instructor. So I always like to start with why, and so why do we need to look at holding our community? Well, I'm going to give you some specific evidence-based research kinds of things that you can use in your community to help your community understand why newborns are so important for all of us in our community. And then we're going to go into some specific ideas that you can try in your community. I'm going to show you what has worked and what hasn't worked. And you'll get some ideas for how you can generate income, how you can begin to build your community and broaden your impact. So also let's use the comment section a lot if you have specific questions about anything that we're going to go over in this section. So again, we're tuning in. So we're going to tune into our own community. Your community is different from mine. Also, there are lots of different ways to define community. We can define it geographically, which I've done in my examples, but we can also define community philosophically. So for example, the Waldorf community or a Lifeways community, we can define community by affinity. So there's a yoga community, there's a running community, So first thing for you to do is to kind of tune in, to be clear about what your community is. Maybe it's the doula community, childbirth. So being clear about your community that you want to impact, and then tuning in to your community. So I'll show you what works in my community. So what I've experienced in my community. So we're in Jacksonville in Northeast Florida, and our city has 7 bridges. Bridges are a big deal in our community. We have a lot of water and we're on the ocean. So we also have a lot of symbolism there from the ocean. So I use a bridge as a metaphor when I speak about how I'm creating a bridge between the knowledge that stays inside the healthcare system and the community in which that knowledge is very much needed. The knowledge about prenatal development, human development before birth, newborn development, and how to support families in transition from pregnancy to parenting. So the bridge metaphor works for me. There may be other things in your community that work for you. And another is, I love to share this from the larger global community. So this is from the 2012 Olympics, which were held in London. And for the opening ceremony for the 2012 Olympics, England chose to honor some of its native sons and daughters who had had an impact globally. And one of those is a man named Sir Tim, Berners-Lee. I wrote his name down so I can make sure I said it correctly. Sir Tim Berners-Lee. He is the inventor of the World Wide Web. To honor him, they had at the center of the stadium this house, and they zeroed in on the house and they showed Sir Tim in his home office typing on his computer, and then he hit send, and this was the message that went around the stadium. So his message lit up over 70,000 LED lights as he shared with the world that when he created the World Wide Web, he intentionally created it so that it would be for everyone, so that it would not be proprietary, owned by one government or owned by one company. He wanted it to be for everyone. Likewise, I have created the Newborn Touch curriculum to be for everyone. So I didn't franchise it. I didn't put it into a training module that you have to use every section. I have been trained in probably, 10 maybe different training areas, and all of them say you have to use this curriculum and you have to use it in this way. So I intentionally chose not to create the Newborn Touch curriculum that way. I set it up so you could take what you need and leave the rest. You could view it like a buffet meal. If you don't like broccoli, don't scoop out broccoli. So if you don't like the 5 S's, they don't resonate with you, don't bring them into your work as you continue. If you do like them or you find a place for them, then great. So I've intentionally set this up so that you can use what works for you, what resonates for you, what you're attuned to, and you can leave the rest just leave it for another time. You may come back and revisit and say, oh, well, now I remember, or I think that part might be relevant. So the other reason around why in the community is that I've just gotten a kick out of this cartoon. I've used it so many times in presentations. I've also used it in presentations to potential donors and when looking at putting together funding through the nonprofit sector, because we're all in this together. And if we think that, we're on the safe side of the boat, then we're missing out on an opportunity to really join together across our community. So I have found that images such as this resonate in my community. And knowing that, yeah, we're the rising tide lifts all boats. Again, we have a lot of water in our community, so maybe that's why some of these images and metaphors land well. Another image that you'll have in the resources that you can use, it's a very simple one, but it helps us understand that with the Newborn Touch curriculum, we have learned that the brain's capacity to change is way before birth. And there we are right there, 4th trimester. And yet in our communities, and most of our communities, the public spending doesn't really start until the child is around, 3, 4. We have voluntary 4-year-old preschool programs, VPK, public kindergarten, public school, and then we get into high school and we start getting into some job training kinds of things or post-secondary ways to try to remediate. So we, with the Newborn Touch program, I'm very committed to trying to prevent some of those problems. Let's get out in front. Let's get out in front and work with our families early on. This is the evidence-based piece that you're going to have a link to in the resources. And this was developed by an economist, Dr. James Heckman. He is a Nobel Prize winning economist. And when he studied the investment in the earliest programs, such as Early Head Start, the Nurse Family Partnerships, Healthy Start, home visiting programs, things like that, programs that focused right here on prenatal and the earliest of early childhood. His team of economists assessed and determined that the highest return on investment was at the earliest part of human development. So we have lots of research and science that we can rest on as we move out into our communities and as you share the importance of focusing on families during the 4th trimester, before and during the 4th trimester. All those curves remind us of our base diagram here, which is our understanding of the sensitive periods of brain development early on. So those tools can help you find out and figure out for yourself what you feel comfortable using and then what resonates in your community as you move your work out. This quote has just stayed with me the first time I read it. I said, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So everyone else is throwing life preservers downstream. So the problems have already started happening. They're compiling, they're growing, they're becoming more and more, oh gosh, almost overwhelming. We saw in the segment just before this one, the impact on families and on the relationship. In my community, the divorce rate is around 72%. And that's just dramatic. And so we know that the impact on the family can be very, very profound and have lasting repercussions. So instead of being downstream trying to throw in the life preservers, we are upstream. we are trying to help those families prevent and avoid some of the stresses and problems that can come later on. So this is where our work fits in the community. Now I'll show you a couple of things that I've tried since the pandemic, because everything changed. All of my Newborn Touch trainings were in person, in classrooms, at agencies, at a pediatrician's office, and other places, face to face. So all of us had to pivot back in March or so timeframe when we began to have to put everything online, whatever we were doing. So last March, I made a couple of attempts to tune into my community and figure out what would resonate. So this is one of my, quote, failed attempts. So I talked with several people in the community and said, what do you think would work? One of the things that we came up with was this idea of offering online a 10 o'clock coffee chat for people to come together. So I sent an email out to everyone on my email list, and I said, I don't know how to respond to this sheltering that we're doing. I don't know what you need, but I'd sure like to offer the opportunity to talk with you. Suddenly you're homeschooling, or suddenly you're working from home. Our Waldorf Lifeways preschool, the play garden, was closed, and families, we had 80 families that suddenly didn't have a preschool program for their child. So I wanted to be very sensitive and listen and try to tune into what was needed. So I offered these for 4 consecutive Sundays, and initially got a lot of interest, a lot of emails back. Thank you so much. That would be great. And each of the 4 times I was there by myself. And one time I had a mom who came in for about 10 minutes, but she actually was the mom of much older children, but she just wanted to support what we were, what I was trying to do. So I would lovingly call this one a failed attempt. This did not resonate in my community. And so in concurrence with this, at the same time, I also offered a book study on Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock. I just sort of picked that time because it worked for me. And I thought, well, babies will be up from their naps and it's not quite time to fix dinner yet. So maybe that would be a good time. The book that I chose is one that is so dear to my heart. So my advice to you is, if you decide to reach out to potential clients by offering a book study, choose something that's dear to your heart. This is one of the first books that I read when I discovered Waldorf education. The first book that I read was You're Your Child's First Teacher by Rahima Baldwin. And that's available on the Lifeways site. We'll put in a link for you on that. And that would be another one that you could consider taking pieces of and offering to your community. But this little book, Spiritual Tasks of the Homemaker, is only 33 pages long. It describes the philosophy that is the basis for Waldorf and Lifeways, and this philosophy of parenting, this philosophy of human development. And I absolutely cherished this book when I first read it. So I chose this one as my first offering to our community after the sheltering began. And to my absolute delight, I ended up with about 20 people on my email list every Sunday. And any given session, we would have 12, maybe 15. I don't believe we ever dropped lower than 10. Moms from all ages and stages. And we worked our way through this book. We kind of read through it together. And it was a time to offer what I'm advising you to do is, and what you've watched me do with the Zoom sessions, is you offer content and you offer connection. So the participants have something that they can go away from that's substantive, and they also had that opportunity to connect. So if you decide to do this as one of your strategies and you need help with, all right, how do I set up a Zoom account, or how do I facilitate a Zoom session, I am more than happy to help you with that. So that one worked, and I'm strongly considering offering that one again. I think, and then we moved to another book. The group stayed together after we finished this book, and we moved to another book, and then now we've taken a break for a little while. Another thing in my community is we have had a lot of success with various festivals. So if you are in a Waldorf Lifeways community or any type of community, thinking about your seasonal opportunities We're coming into winter, of course, the holidays, but spring, anytime there's a changing season, things that are outdoors are obviously very appropriate now as ways to build community. So for us, one of the things that has resonated very well for us is an annual camping trip to a state park that's about an hour and a half away from Jacksonville. And we started going in the middle of November, which coincides with the Martin Mas, which is the Lantern Walk and the celebration of St. Martin. And there's a beautiful story about St. Martin and the Martin Mas is a festival that some Waldorf Lifeways communities participate in. So the children make their lanterns. They sing a beautiful little lantern song. They walk out into the woods and sit down, and someone tells the story of St. Martin. One of the parents tells the story. So this has been a really wonderful. We started out the first year with just me and one other mom and our playgroup leader and my two kids and my friend's two kids. So it was just the 7 of us, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it was just the 7 of us the first time. The park has cabins. So we just had a wonderful, wonderful time. The kids enjoyed it. And just a few years later, it had grown to quite a number of families. And there are some kids who are not even in this picture. But my daughter was 1 year old the first time that we went, and there she is. She's right at looks to be about 3 years old. So this would have been a couple of years later. And it has continued to grow. And in each year, we have a lot of traditions that happen. So each year, one of the moms brings what is needed to make the lanterns. So there's my daughter making her lanterns. So she looks to be around, 10 or so years. And these children around the table are some of the very first ones that went that first year. So we're now on our 23rd year of this festival, and it has grown and grown. And last year we had over 200 people. We rent all of the cabins and many of the campsites. We pull the tables together and have a potluck and sing the lantern song and other songs. And the children, the smaller children, take their lanterns, and one of the dads tells the story of St. Martin. So it's quite lovely. Now, don't be overwhelmed by this idea of oh my gosh, a 23-year tradition that is now over 200 people, or actually this year, of course, with the pandemic, it's ratcheted down quite a bit, because I love that saying about the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is right now. So please don't feel like, oh, I can't build that kind of tradition. It takes too long, because start right now. Just whatever resonates with you. This idea just happened to resonate with me and with several of the families in my community, and all of us have gone back every year. So actually, all of these kids around the table are now in their 20s. They finished college. Some of them have finished grad school, and they actually have their own cabins and their own campsites, and they continue the tradition. Another thing to tune into with your community are, what are some of the rituals? What are some of the rhythms and rituals and ceremonies that are organic to your community? We're going to share some resources about a blessing way. We were so fortunate in our community. Lifeways, we're a Lifeways representation program, and Cynthia and Mary have been with us to do the Lifeways teacher training at the Play Garden, and we did a blessing way. It was just lovely with one of the participants who was expecting. And then after the pandemic, when we all went into sheltering, another mom in the program had a blessing way online, a virtual blessing way. And Cynthia Aldinger and Mary O'Connell did a lovely, lovely, beautiful virtual blessing way. They suggested that all of us have dessert with us so that we could all sit and eat our dessert in front of our cameras. And we had all made hearts for the mom, and delivered the hearts and delivered a dessert to her so that she could be with us and enjoy that. So Dad took the older children, and we had time with the mom to bless her. as she was bringing her third little munchkin into the world. So that's another way that you can do ceremonies and have community building activities that you can try in your community and see what works. So the idea here is that all of these babies are different. They come in with different talents and different gifts. And how wonderful if we can nourish and nurture all of them. And I view you that way as well. So among all of our group of newborn touch instructors, each of you has different gifts you're bringing, different talents, different passions, different stories. And so I want to honor each of those, each of your individual needs as well. So definitely tap into whatever you need and as far as how you're going to take this work forward. But I do want to end this segment with a little bit of a kind of a fun thing about wondering about our little babies as they come in, as we want to nurture them. So you know that the purpose of the Newborn Touch curriculum is to help families in transition from pregnancy to parenting, help them learn how to help their babies cry less, sleep more, and flourish as they develop. So this is part of the flourishing as they develop part, as we observe the babies and we wonder, and we look and we don't know, is that little one going to be a ballerina, or is maybe that little one going to be a bullfighter, a matador, or maybe that little one is going to be Superman or Superwoman, or maybe that little one is going to be a surfer dude. That's what might work in my community, is being a surfer. So I'm going to close this section with a summary of the benefits that I hope that you have experienced, and with the deepest appreciation to you from my heart. I have just shared my life's work with you. It has been such a joy and such an honor to be able to share this with you. And I do thank you from my heart for being with me all the way through this and being so engaged and comments. And so let's continue that part of it. We will continue together through the comment section, through the Zoom sessions, and then through my private one-on-ones with you. But I do want to take a moment to go back to the very, very beginning when you first signed up for this course. So one of the things that I've kept right here in my live video production, I learned how to be a video production person after sheltering began, is I kept a list of the benefits of what I promised you at the beginning of this course. So I've kept this taped right here by my side. So let's take a look. Let's summarize them. So the first one is, I promised you that you would learn the essential knowledge about newborn development from conception through the 4th trimester. I feel that knowledge is very essential, and that's knowledge that you can share with your clients, with your community, integrate into the work that you're already doing, or use that knowledge to expand what you're doing. Another benefit for you that I hope that you've experienced is to learn some unique care practices to enrich the 4th trimester of newborn development and beyond. So that's trying to flag those care practices for you so that you have that. A third benefit that I hope that you experienced is understanding the crucial role of the newborn's physical and emotional environment. That we adults and we caregivers control that physical and that adult environment. We choose what that environment is going to be like. So I hope that you have developed an understanding of the importance of the physical and emotional environment around the newborn. Also, I promised you skills in helping a newborn calm. So you've got specific skills, tools in your toolkit, and we've had a lovely, vibrant, robust conversation about talking about the calming reflex, and is it really a reflex? So I've been enriched by all of that we've had together. I also felt that a benefit to you would be the evidence and research-based skills to help decrease crying and increase sleep for everyone, for parents and for babies. So that is a benefit that I hope that you've taken from this pilot class. And this is why we do pilots, so we can see, did this work? How well did it work? What worked well? What didn't work well? So another benefit was to increase your awareness of newborn stress cues, of their states, their various behavioral states, of their engagement and their disengagement cues, and ways to understand and support those cues. So that's a benefit that I hope that you've taken away. Also, some skills in touch techniques, hold techniques, infant massage techniques that you can teach parents. So you can create little small classes for your parents. You've watched me demonstrate that online. It's not, it was a real challenge for me. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to teach something that I've only done in person and bring it online. Hopefully that worked, and hopefully that modeled for you how you can bring that into your community, those techniques. And also an understanding of how caregiver communication impacts the developing brain. And then some research behind that, some evidence, lots of resources for you. So you now have the Harvard Center for the Developing Child. You have 0 to 3. You have, lots of other resources and organizations, the Postpartum Support International, the Heckman, Dr. Heckman's economic case. What else? Other things that we've offered to you. Oh, the stress reduction. So other bodies of knowledge that are out there that are evidence-based that can support what you're doing in your community. And then last but not least, a benefit was to introduce to you strategies to build an NTOUCH community that can expand your impact in your community with your families in transition from pregnancy to parenting. So those are the gifts that I wanted to offer you, and wanted to see your responses and how they work for you and how they benefit you as you move this work forward. So we're done, and I have so enjoyed every moment of being with you. You've made it really easy for me and lots of fun. So let's connect in the comment section. Let's connect on Zoom, and then let's connect through our one-on-ones, so that just like that big, beautiful field of flowers that I showed you, that beautiful field of wildflowers. So you are unique inside that field. And so let's connect so that I can be sure that your needs have been met in terms of taking this work out there, generating additional income, adding to what you're already doing, or integrating this work into the work that you're already doing. So thank you. I will see you in the Zoom session, and I'll see you in the comments section. Goodbye.